Mama Remy had been 12 long years waiting for a knock that never came. Every day, she sat by the same window, her window to the world, her window to the past. In her free hands, she held a letter, a seal unbroken, its weight heavier than stone. It was not just paper, it was hope, fear, regret, and longing wrapped into one. She would hold it close to her chest sometimes, whispering prayers into the silence, but never once did she gather the courage to open it. The house was quiet too. The ticking clock, the creaking floor, even the wind outside seemed louder than her heart. People in the village often wondered about her, why she clung to that letter, why she sat by the window for hours each day. But no one dare ask. No one knew that behind the silence lay a story of love broken by pride, of a family scattered by hunger, of a woman too afraid to face her own past. And so the days rolled by, the seasons changed, and still she waited, holding onto a letter she could not read. There was a time when her home was not so empty. The sound of pots clanging in the kitchen, the laughter of children playing in the corner, the aroma of stew filling the air. Those were the days when Mama Remy was more than an old woman waiting by a window. She was a young mother, full of energy, full of dreams. Her children, little Remilekun and Kunle, would run in circles around her, tugging at her wrapper, giggling as she pretended to chase them. The walls of that modest home were once painted with joy. Neighbors would pass by and hear her humming as she stirred the pot, see the children clapping to the rhythm of her voice. It was a house alive with love. But life has a way of shifting. Small cracks appear, words are spoken in anger, and the warmth of home can quickly turn cold. Those memories, sweet, precious, and touchable, became the ghosts that haunted her in the years that followed. For every laugh she remembered, there was also the pain of knowing how it had all slipped away. It happened one evening, an argument, simple at first, but words are like fire. Once they spread, they burn everything in their path. Mama Remy and her husband clashed in the middle of their living room, their voices rising, their faces hardened. The children sat in silence, their eyes wide, too young to understand, too afraid to speak. She shouted words she didn't mean, words that tore deeper than knives. He, wounded by pride, gave back his own. Pride is a dangerous thing. It makes love sound like war, and family feel like strangers. That night, the house felt smaller, suffocating, and when the shouting ended, there was no embrace, no forgiveness, no silence. A silence that stretched into the next day and the next, until one morning her husband woke up in his teens. The years that followed were slow, heavy, and lonely. The house remained, but it was no longer a home. Dust gathered on the picture frames that hung on the wall. The laughter of children was replaced by the sound of silence. She kept everything just as it was. The small bed, the dining table, the family photos. She could not let go even when time urged her to move on. Her husband never returned. The children never wrote. Every festival, every holiday, she cooked for one, setting food on an empty table, as if expecting them to walk in. But no one came. People pitied her. Some mocked her, but she endured. Hope kept her alive. She told herself, one day they will return. And though the years grew long and the silence grew deeper, she held onto that fragile thread of faith. Then one Tuesday, something changed. The postman came with an envelope. The handwriting was unfamiliar, but the name written at the corner froze her heart. Remilekun Oluwatobi, her daughter. The little girl who once played by a kitchen fire, now grown, now reaching out. Her hands trembled and she received the letter. She wanted to tear it open immediately, but her heart failed her. What will it say? Hatred? Accusations? Or forgiveness? For hours, she stared at it. For days, she carried it around, but the fear of what was inside was greater than the hope of what it might bring. So she kept it sealed, unread. She told herself, tomorrow I will open it, but tomorrow never came. Meanwhile, in the city, Remilekun lived a life full of questions. Her father never spoke of her mother. Whenever she asked, he changed the subject, hiding behind silence. But children never stopped wondering, and when she grew older, she began to search. One day, while cleaning, she found an old photo album. There was a mother's face, young, smiling, full of warmth. Tears filled her eyes as she traced the picture with her figure. Who was this woman? Is she still alive? Did she still think of her? Questions turned into longing. Longing turned into action. And so, Remilekun picked up a pen and wrote to the woman she barely remembered. A letter not of anger, but of hope. A letter that said, Mama, I want to know you. I want to forgive what I don't understand. The words she wrote were simple, but powerful. Dear Mama, I want to know you. I want to forgive what I don't understand. I am coming home on the 10th of July. Please be there. But those words never reached her mother's heart. The letter lay unopened, waiting in Mama Remi's fragile hands. She held in her possession the very thing she had prayed for: a chance, a bridge, an open door. But fear chained her, and silence robbed her. And so, the letter's power remained hidden, its truth unseen. Destiny had offered her one last chance, but pride and fear kept her from grasping it. On the 10th of July, Remilekun stood at the doorstep of the house she once called home. She carried no anger. only hope. Her suitcase was heavy, but her heart was heavier with questions. She knocked, no answer. She knocked again, still silence. Slowly, she pushed the door open. Inside the same chair by the window, the same house filled with a silence, and there she found her mother, seated as always, the letter still in her hand, but her eyes closed forever. Remilekun's voice broke into cries, calling, begging, pleading, but it was too late. The reunion she dreamed of died in that moment. She had come home, but home was already gone. The funeral was small. A handful of villagers, a priest, a simple wooden coffin, but the tears were deep. Remilekun stood by the grave, her hands clutching the letter that had never been read. She felt cheated. She felt robbed. She had carried love across distance, only to find silence. They say time heals, but time also steals. Mama Remi went to her grave with her apology unsaid, her forgiveness ungiven, her love unread, and her daughter buried a mother she never embraced, a mother she had searched for too late, two hearts broken, two lives scarred by years of silence and pride. Now, the house stands still, a shadow of what once was. The chair by the window remains, but empty. The letter, finally opened, rests on the seat, its words now known to all. It is no longer just a message from a daughter to her mother. It is a lesson to the living, a warning that love should never be delayed. If you love someone, tell them today. If you have forgiveness to give it now. Do not wait for tomorrow is never promised. Don't let silence build walls between you and the ones you cherish. Don't let pride steal the years you cannot get back, because one day, like Mama Remi, you may find yourself holding a letter you will never read. Or like Remilekun, standing at a grave with love still unspoken. Say it now, do it now, before the letter becomes your last goodbye.